In 2023, a single Houthi drone cost around $2,000 and caused the U.S. Navy to fire a $4 million interceptor missile to destroy it. The math was unsustainable. 2,000 in, 4 million out. Every time a drone launched, the United States was losing the exchange by a factor of 2,000 to 1. By 2026, the Navy had started changing that math. Not completely, not perfectly, but in ways that are already reshaping the economics of drone warfare at sea and explaining why Iran's drone campaign in the opening week of Operation Epic Fury achieved far less than Iran had planned and announced. This is the story of how the United States Navy went from being economically bankrupted by cheap drones to developing systems that can destroy 100 of them for the price of one traditional interceptor missile, and why that shift may be one of the most consequential developments in naval warfare, since the guided missile replaced the gun as the primary weapon of surface warfare. Start with the threat as it actually exists, because the headline version of drone swarms tends to understate the problem in some ways and overstate it in others. The version most people have in their heads is a cloud of small quadcopters swarming a ship like bees attacking a hive. That image is not entirely wrong, but it misses the specific characteristics that make modern naval drone threats genuinely dangerous. Iran's actual drone arsenal, as deployed in the opening week of Operation Epic Fury, consisted primarily of Shahed 136 loitering munitions. These are delta-winged one-way attack drones that fly toward a programmed target and detonate on impact. They are not remotely piloted in real time. They are launched, given a target coordinate, and they fly until they hit something or are destroyed. Iran fired almost 2,000 of these drones in the first week of the conflict, alongside roughly 500 ballistic and naval missiles, according to Iranian military reporting. 2,000 drones in 7 days. That is approximately 285 per day. Against a single carrier strike group, that volume would represent an extraordinary defensive challenge. Against multiple strike groups, plus land bases, plus the combined defensive systems of every Gulf state, plus Israel, the drones were distributed across a much wider target set. The Abraham Lincoln Strike Group faced a manageable fraction of that total volume, but the threat was not just the number, it was the combination. AICSIS analysis published in February 2026, just before the operation began, described Iran's potential combined arms assault, drone swarms paired with Khalij-Fars anti-ship ballistic missiles, fast inshore attack craft such as PACAP-class vessels approaching simultaneously, multiple layers of electronic warfare jamming designed to blind Aegis systems at the moment the physical threats arrived. In this combined scenario, the Navy's challenge was not simply shooting down targets. It was what the analysts called deconflicting, managing multiple defensive systems operating simultaneously in the same battle space, ensuring that missiles fired to intercept one threat did not create a hazard for aircraft intercepting another, preventing the entire defensive picture from becoming so saturated that decision-making collapsed under the cognitive load. Iran built its entire strategy around creating exactly that saturation, around making the cost and complexity of defense exceed what American ships could sustain. Here is what actually happened. The Navy's first line of defense against drone swarms in the Iran operation was not a new weapon. It was an old weapon with new software. The Hellfire missile, originally developed for helicopter gunships attacking tanks in Central Europe, had been quietly transformed into one of the Navy's most cost-effective anti-drone weapons through a series of software and guidance upgrades developed during the Red Sea campaign against Houthi drones in 2024 and 2025. The original Hellfire was designed to track vehicles on the ground using laser designation or radar guidance. The anti-drone variant, developed rapidly during the Red Sea campaign, added software that allowed the missile seeker to track the specific radar and infrared signature of small unmanned aerial vehicles. The modification cost a fraction of developing an entirely new weapon system, The result was an interceptor capable of engaging drone-sized targets at a fraction of the cost of the standard missiles used for higher-end threats. The USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group was equipped with Hellfire-based anti-drone systems as part of the layered defensive architecture developed specifically for the Iran deployment. When Iranian Shahed drones approached the strike group, Hellfire interceptors were the first layer of kinetic defense engaged against them. Standard missiles were reserved for the ballistic missile threats that Hellfire cannot handle. This is the first principle of the Navy's evolving drone defense doctrine. Match the threat to the cheapest effective interceptor and reserve expensive weapons for threats that only expensive weapons can handle. The second layer was directed energy, and this is where the story gets genuinely dramatic. Project METEOR, the Navy's high-powered microwave weapon program, had been in development for years. Its core capability: emit a burst of intense electromagnetic energy that fries the electronics inside a drone without any physical projectile. No missile, no bullet, just electromagnetic energy traveling at the speed of light, and a drone that is suddenly incapable of flying. The cost per shot is measured in dollars, not millions. A high-powered microwave burst that disables a drone costs approximately the same as running a microwave oven for a few hours. The Navy's nuclear-powered carriers have essentially unlimited electrical capacity. The magazine is the ship's reactor, and it does not run out. According to defense reporting and official Navy budget documents, a Meteor prototype was scheduled for shipboard integration in 2026. The system was described in official budget documents as providing capability with low cost per shot, deep magazine, tactically significant range, and short-time engagement for a multi-target approach, meaning it can engage multiple drones in rapid succession without the reload time that kinetic weapons require. The CSIS analysis published in February explicitly cited a Meteor-derived high-powered microwave system as a key component of the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group's drone defense, describing it as capable of disabling or destroying the electronics of multiple kamikaze drones simultaneously at a fraction of the cost per shot of traditional missiles. This is the system that the publicly available analysis says was present and operational during the Iran operation. Whether it was used, how many drones it engaged, and what its performance looked like against live Shahed threats in a real combat environment has not been confirmed in open-source reporting. What the analysis tells us is that the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group went into Operation Epic Fury with a high-powered microwave anti-drone system as part of its defensive toolkit, alongside Hellfire interceptors and the Aegis Standard Missile System. 3 layers, 3 different cost points, 3 different capabilities matched to 3 different threat categories. The Epirus ExDECS system provides a parallel example of how rapidly the technology has matured. The Expeditionary Directed Energy Counter-Swarm System, developed by a company called Epirus, uses solid-state gallium nitride technology to generate long-pulse high-powered microwave energy. The system was delivered to the Naval Surface Warfare Center Dahlgren Division in April 2025 for evaluation by the U.S. Marine Corps. In testing, it successfully engaged both single drone targets and drone swarms, demonstrating the ability to neutralize multiple threats in rapid sequence. The gallium nitride components are critical to understanding why the technology has advanced so rapidly. Traditional microwave generators required large, heavy vacuum tube systems that needed significant cooling infrastructure. Gallium nitride solid-state amplifiers achieve similar output levels in a package that is compact enough to mount on a light tactical vehicle or a ship deck, does not require the same cooling systems, and can be software configured to adjust its targeting parameters without hardware changes. Software-defined, modular, scalable. The same physical system can be updated through software to engage new drone variants as adversaries adapt their designs. This is the same philosophy that drove the Aegis Speed to Capability software update program during the Red Sea campaign. Build the ability to adapt faster than the adversary can present new threats. The Army's version of the Epirus system, the IFP-CHPM, completed engineering development testing and was cleared for operational deployment in 2025. The Navy and Marine Corps versions were in active testing. Defense contractors, including Raytheon, were developing additional shipboard microwave applications under the METEOR program umbrella, with the shared goal of having production-ready systems available for fleet-wide deployment by the late 2020s. Understanding why Iran's drone campaign achieved less than Iran had designed it to achieve requires putting the technology in the context of how it was used operationally. Iran fired almost 2,000 drones in the first 7 days of the conflict. The Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, the primary naval target of Iran's aerial campaign, was not hit by any of them. Nor was any other U.S. Navy vessel confirmed as struck by Iranian drone or missile fire in the first week of the operation, despite Iran's claims about the Abraham Lincoln, which U.S. officials, CENTCOM, and independent analysts all confirmed were fabricated. Several factors contributed to this outcome. The command disruption created by the time-on-target opening strike was significant. Iran's drone launch operations required coordination between launch teams, targeting data from reconnaissance assets, and guidance from command nodes that processed the overall tactical picture. When those command nodes were destroyed in the first minutes of epic fury, Iran's drone campaign degraded from a coordinated combined arms assault into a series of largely independent launches that were easier to manage individually. The volume that did get through was distributed across a vast target area that included American bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE, along with Israeli cities and Gulf state infrastructure. The Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, operating 700 kilometers from Iran's shores in the Arabian Sea rather than in the confined waters of the Persian Gulf, where Iran's doctrine was designed to be most effective, faced a reduced fraction of the total drone volume. The layered defensive systems performed. The combination of Hellfire interceptors, directed energy systems, and Aegis Standard missiles created a defensive architecture deep enough that no single threat could exhaust it. The cheap weapons handled cheap threats. The expensive weapons were available for the expensive threats. But the most important factor may be the one that is hardest to measure precisely. Iran's drone swarm doctrine was designed for a specific scenario. It assumed that Iranian command and control would be functioning. It assumed that swarm attacks could be coordinated to arrive simultaneously from multiple directions, creating the saturation that the doctrine required. It assumed that the confined geography of the Persian Gulf would give Iranian fast attack craft and coastal missile batteries the opportunity to augment the drone assault with physical threats that American ships could not simultaneously manage. None of those assumptions held in the actual operation. Time on target had destroyed the command infrastructure before the swarms could be coordinated. The confined geography of the Persian Gulf was not the operational area. The Abraham Lincoln was 700 kilometers away in open ocean. And Iran's fast attack craft, the vessels that were supposed to coordinate with the drone assault to overwhelm American defenses from multiple vectors simultaneously, never left port in coordinated swarms because the command network that would have organized them was gone. The broader lesson for naval warfare goes beyond the specific technology and specific operation. The drone threat to naval forces is real and it is not going away. Iran demonstrated in 2023 and 2024 through its Houthi proxies that even relatively primitive drone systems can impose extraordinary costs on a navy that relies exclusively on expensive interceptors. The Houthi campaign cost the United States more than $1 billion in Operation Rough Rider alone, and the underlying economic asymmetry of million-dollar missiles against $1,000 drones was never fully resolved during that campaign. What the Iran operation demonstrated is a different pathway. Not the elimination of the economic asymmetry, because directed energy systems are not yet mature enough or widespread enough to fully replace kinetic interceptors across the fleet. But the beginning of a reversal, a layered defensive architecture where the most numerous and cheapest threats are handled by the cheapest effective countermeasures. and expensive systems are reserved for the threats that require them. The ship that could not afford to keep firing million-dollar missiles at $2,000 drones forever is now deploying systems that can destroy those drones for the cost of electricity. The carrier whose magazine was at risk of exhaustion in a prolonged drone campaign now has a defensive layer whose magazine is, for practical purposes, the ship's nuclear reactor. The United States Navy does not no longer fear suicide drone swarms in the sense that drone threats have been eliminated. They have not been. Iranian proxy forces still operate drones. China is developing its own naval drone swarm capabilities. The Houthis, despite sustained American strikes, retain a drone inventory. What has changed is the economic and tactical equation. The Navy is no longer fighting that battle exclusively with weapons that cost 2,000 times what they are destroying. It now has weapons in deployment that can change that ratio fundamentally. The development is not complete. The fleet-wide deployment of sufficient directed energy capacity to handle high-volume drone threats in every theater is still years away. But the direction of travel is established. The Abraham Lincoln Strike Group went into Operation Epic Fury with a high-powered microwave system that can engage multiple drones simultaneously for the cost of electricity. The Iris Dina is on the bottom of the Indian Ocean. Iran's 11 ships in the Gulf of Oman are gone. The drone swarm that Iran spent years building and testing and rehearsing was not the decisive factor it was designed to be. The Navy figured out the answer. This is Naval Depth. Subscribe and stay with us as this story continues.